Today, on The Unforgotten, I want to remember a man whose name itself seems to resist being pinned down. James Robert Kosier, my third great-grandmother's brother. His surname appears in the records under several different spellings, none of them consistent, which makes this family surprisingly hard to track. Unfortunately, what little personal information there is to be known about my third great-granduncle is told in the handful of articles detailing his murder in rural Johnson County, Arkansas, in early February of 1922. But remembering that I'm a genealogist requires us to start at the beginning, with the few census records I find him in. He first shows up in 1860, at age 2, under the name James, the youngest son of 38-year-old James Kosier, spelled Keiser, and his 43-year-old wife Adeline, alongside 6 other siblings, Elizabeth, John, William, Mary, Loretta, and Evelyn. They're living in Red River, Texas, all having originally been born in Tennessee. By 1870, the family had moved north to Mulberry, Johnson County, Arkansas, with their surnames spelled Kosier. Still living at home with James and Adeline are Mary, Loretta, Evelyn, and Robert, who was previously called James in 1860, and my ancestor, Zulema. Next to this family are the older brothers, John and William, married with children of their own, as well as the eldest daughter, Elizabeth, who is married to F.L. Stewart. By 1880, I can no longer find the eldest son, John. But in Boston Township of Madison County, James and Adeline still have Evelyn, age 24, and Robert, 22, living at home. Their last name is now spelled Kosier. William is living next door. Elizabeth Stewart is still living in nearby Johnson County, as well as Mary, who has now married Joseph McAllister, Martha, who has married Thomas Akerd, and my ancestor, Sarah Zulema, who has married John Turner Akerd. Much of this family falls right off the map after this. I can find no record for Robert James Kosier in 1900, no matter how I try to spell his name, but he's back in the records by 1910, enumerated beneath the Wesley Yates family as Robert J. Kosier, spelled Kosier, in Hill Township, Johnson County, Arkansas. He is single and owns his property free. According to the newspapers at the time of his death, Robert was a bachelor recluse renting from George Patterson. And in the 1920 Hill Township, Johnson County census, taken on March 10th of that year, he is listed just beneath the George W. Patterson family as James R., and his last name is written over and butchered. But the last little bit you can make out is spelled Kosar. I was only able to find him by manually going in and reading each page of the census. This record agrees with the newspaper articles. It states he is renting. He is 61, single, and was born in Tennessee. Then 2 years later, on February 10th, newspapers begin reporting that Robert Kosier, Kasire, had been found by his neighbor Tom Hignight, who had gone to his house to buy tobacco, which Robert grew and sold. When Tom arrived, the doors were locked. Through the window, Hignight saw Robert lying on the floor. Thinking he was ill, he forced his way inside and found him in a pool of blood. The coroner said Kosier had been dead for 2 or 3 days. Circumstantial evidence led to the arrest of a young Albert Whitmire, the son of the local preacher John Whitmire. Rumors quickly spread that the motive was robbery and that young Whitmire had recently bought a .22 target rifle from Tom Hignight, paid off several debts, as well as tried to pass off some Confederate money at the local store owned and operated by James Evans. It was also reported that he had quit school at Yale because he couldn't afford tuition, but right after the murder he enrolled once more, which is where he was found and arrested. At one of the hearings, a son of George Patterson told Justice Lon McMillan that sometime previous, a man and boy came to Kosier's home and attempted to rob him, but that he evaded them by stepping behind a door and they left. Patterson said Kosier told him the boy was Whitmire. By April, the Mountain Air published a lengthy article correcting many false accusations, one of which was that he was only shot, while other reports had said he had also been struck with a club. They point out that robbery didn't seem like a likely motive, as Kosier was a poor man that didn't own property, but rented from George Patterson, and only marketed a small amount of corn and tobacco, and only had as much as $50 at any time. There were reports that Albert Whitmire had stayed at his brother-in-law's house the night of the murder, but this article says that was not true and that he was at his own home that night. It was proven at trial the only debt he paid off was for 40 cents, and that the gun he purchased from Roscoe Hignite he sold not long afterward, before the murder took place. And Jim Evans declared positively that no Confederate money was used at his store by Alfred Whitmire. The article concludes that it came as a surprise in light of evidence that Whitmire was bound over for investigation before the grand jury, and that he quickly and readily made a $10,000 bond with 13 upright and honorable citizens voluntarily signing, with many more volunteering, but not needed. The last article I can find is for May 1st, 1923, that mentions the case against Whitmire had routinely been postponed, but it was predicted that the trial would go through at the coming term. And that's the last newspaper report, until a marriage announcement is made that Alfred Whitmire and Ollie Yates had been married in February of 1924. And in June of 1925, it's mentioned that Alfred is working at the mill in Yale. So if Alfred was convicted, he must not have served much time. What is most disappointing to me is that, despite all of this, there is no record indicating where Robert was laid to rest. I can find no death certificate, and his death isn't even recorded in the death index for the state of Arkansas for the years of 1914 through 1923. No family stories have been passed down telling where he is buried. My ancestor and his sister, Zulema, is buried at Ozark. But with his death taking place so close to Patterson Springs, I wonder if that might be where he's at. Or was his body taken away to Clarksville for an autopsy and maybe he was buried there? Although the surviving records offer only a partial picture of Robert's life, they reveal a man who moved with his family from Tennessee to Texas and finally to the hills of Johnson County, Arkansas. He lived simply, farmed, and remained close to the communities that shaped him. His death drew public attention, but the details of his burial and the final handling of his remains were never preserved. Even so, the work of reconstructing his story and gathering the scattered pieces of his life ensures that he is not lost to time. His name, however it was written, still has a place here, and he remains unforgotten.